All right, recording. So today I'm going to talk to you about cohabitation. It's becoming more common today in the U.S. that people often live with their romantic partners before deciding to partake in marriage. It's obvious that the outcome of the situation are one of three things. They never marry but continue to live together, they break up, or they get married in the end. In this way, these relationships are unique but predictable. What is not predictable, however, though, is how those who live together decide to take the step of cohabitation and what their family and friends think about it. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions just to get to know you a little. Are you married or dating?
I am not, neither.
Okay. Well, since you aren't, do you know many people who are?
A few people, yeah.
I do. So what do you think, in your opinion, should come first? Moving in together, or say getting a puppy together? It's a silly question, but it's applicable, I promise.
Moving in together or getting a puppy together?
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know, because I feel like both come with like unique challenges. If there's a breakup, who gets the dog? And then, I don't know. Which would you say comes first?
I would say moving in together.
That's what I was leaning towards, because the dog is
Yeah.
a weird situation. Yeah.
Then you're like having the split ownership, but everyone has their own opinion, which is why I was asking you, because it kind of just, depending on what your values are, is where that conversation lies. So cohabitation in the U.S. has become more normal and increased in popularity every year, which is why I asked you if you knew anyone who were dating, or whether you should move in first or get a puppy first, because you'll be able to relate more.
Right.
I propose that the culture of the U.S. and its members should support adults who want to cohabitate before marriage, so that you should also support those who decide this. You know what I mean by support, like, encourage it and talk positively about it.
Right.
One reason is that stability of living together. So do you feel that, would you deter from moving in with someone or a significant other if family or friends objected to it? Would that influence your decision?
No, I don't think so. I think if I was going to make that decision, I would, like, personally, I know I would be in the right place and ready to do that. So I wouldn't really care.
Awesome. I feel the same way. If your inner circle approves of anything that you do, would you be more likely to do it?
Probably not. I mean, I'm a pretty independent person, honestly.
So you don't think like their influence has any influence on what you do?
I wouldn't say on anything, but yeah, I try not to let what other people do or think influence my actions. I try to stay in my lane.
The reason why I'm asking is because the stability of cohabiting unions increases with increasing popularity of cohabitation, meaning that the more that we encourage it and talk fondly about it and normalize it, the more successful couples are who cohabitate, not necessarily in marriage, but in deciding if that's like your true partner or not,
Right.
instead of feeling like the stress of family influence. Would you say that you support others when they say they plan to cohabitate before marriage or move in together before being married?
I mean, openly, sure, but it would depend on the couple. I mean, clearly there are some couples who just, you know them and you just know they're not ready for that and it's going to end poorly, and it does. But depending on the maturity level of the couple involved, yeah, I would support it for sure.
It's like case by case situation.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So do you think that living together before marriage could be a good process for those who aren't sure whether they want to get married but are ready to take the next step in their relationship?
I would say so. I think I really think when you're around somebody that much and living with them, you learn things about them that you wouldn't have known otherwise, and it's important to know those things about them prior to taking that bigger step.
Gotcha. Well, I feel like your opinion and the actual act of living together before marriage is considered today as like a unique type of bond.
Mm.
But with encouragement, it could definitely be normalized. Would you consider it sensible to pay for one set of bills, like household bills, instead of two?
Like a joint kind of situation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah.
Are you aware that some couples who are dissuaded from cohabitating often only ever stay at one place but pay for two?
I was unaware.
And wouldn't you agree that at this stage in a relationship that it makes more sense to live together if not ready for marriage?
I would probably say so. Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking that is because cohabitation is an economical route for those who share their lives together. It's a pretty legitimate reason to make that step, don't you think?
I do think so. Yes.
So when two people are choosing to marry and they're 20 years old, don't you feel like it may not end well or that they are in too much of a hurry to get married?
Sometimes I do feel like that. Yes.
And when two adults 30 to 40 years of age decide to marry, do you feel like that they're making a mistake or not wise enough to make those choices?
No, because they've experienced a lot more in life and know a lot more. They're older.
So at any age, if a person takes time to make a major decision that affects their lives forever, would you consider it a mistake?
No, no.
I know these seem like silly questions, but I feel it really cones in on the idea that some people think about living together before marriage as like sinful or something. But a great getting married at a greater age or a stronger age, an older age, often results in more successful marriages, and living together before marriage allows that to happen.
Mhm.
So my point here is that cohabitation has many benefits. Some of these benefits aren't even considered when in agreement of cohabitation. The more that cohabitation is looked favorable upon, the more likely couples will be successful in making the right choices for themselves. Also, the more we normalize cohabitation, the idea of this union would look less unusual and more like the natural next step. Cohabitation allows for more economical freedom for the couple to save money for future endeavors like marriage, having children, or buying a home, regardless of the outcome of the relationship. It's also important to note that wisdom in life comes with experiences, and it is known that couples who marry at a later age tend to not get divorced as often and are happily married. So some of the criteria or like the rationale I have for this decision, I would say comes from a couple of these questions I'm going to ask you. And would you say that couples who cohabitate have similar issues equal to married partners?
Um, Similar, but not the same for sure. I think similar, but I don't know if they're the same, but similar, sure, yeah.
And are levels of commitment different for these two different types of couples?
No, I feel like if you're living together, that's, I mean, marriage is a huge commitment, but that's, I think, one rung down the ladder. It's almost the same.
And do you think the purpose of cohabitation is similar to the purpose of marriage?
Can you expand on that? Like,
Yes. So when you get married, you're making like a lifelong commitment,
right,
and you are legally connected, tied to one another. No matter what you do, you have to legally unbind yourself But I find that the purpose of cohabitation is to decide, like, even if you want to be with that person at all, that you're not legally, like, dedicated to them in any way, and you're free to leave and go as you please. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
I kind of told you my answer, but that's
Yeah,
the way I was thinking of it, you know?
yeah, I agree with that.
So cohabitation has proven to be a strong stepping stone for marriage and raising a family in and out of marriage. Um, do you believe that everyone was meant to be married to another person? Like, is there someone special for everyone out there?
I do not believe that.
Would you consider it fair to judge someone on how young they plan to marry, but to also judge another for not marrying at an early age?
I don't think that would be fair.
And do you believe that marriage and or healthy relationships are an important part of life?
I do think so. Yes.
So usually, um, ideology and political orientation are socially taught through perceptions of self-interest and bias.
Mm.
Some people might think that, um, you know, everyone is meant to marry someone, and that it is fair to judge someone for how young they're marrying, but not fair to judge them for marrying or not marrying at an early age. So, like, everything that we feel and we do is built on this bias and this, like, social impact that we, like, in our culture and everything. So my solution to this is that we should begin to change the norms of unmarried cohabitation one person at a time, because the only way to initiate change is by changing the way you feel. And if you agree with me, then openly, like, supporting others and understanding the benefits of it. Consider growing the prevalence of cohabitation, how similar things are evolving throughout time, like Planned Parenthood or other social ideologies. Societal norms changing in this way removes the pressure of every union to resolve in marriage, and people will feel more autonomy in choosing their true love if that's what they want to do. And it also allows for economic advantage for those who are waiting to have children and save for marriage. Children could still be born or would still be born even if it were in unfit marriages, still resulting in single parenting. If the marriage is unfit, the same result happens. People will stay in a happy marriage if they choose. Children could also act as a deterrent to ending the relationship and encouraging growth. So would you say that you agree with me?
I would say that I agree with you. I think that living together prior to marriage is probably a good idea, especially I think it's becoming more normal and accepted, and I think I look at it kind of like a trial run. Like you really don't know what you're getting yourself into living with the person, or you don't really get to know them until you live with them. And it's important to, like I said, get to know all sides of them.
Yeah, I agree with your opinion. Cohabitation in my life has proven to be successful for me.
Mhm.
I've not only used this method to decide whom I couldn't live with, but I've also used to find someone who I couldn't live without. So a large number of students as young as freshmen are in college and are choosing cohabitation to deal with the new financial and educational stresses of life. And opposing the idea wouldn't make any difference on who decides and when and where they decide, but might increase the chances that the relationship ends if needed, or they can continue a happy life, don't you think?
I agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time. I'm glad I persuaded you, although I feel like you agreed all along.
Well, I mean, I thank you for. I mean, you persuaded me. You presented the facts before I agreed. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Wait, hold on.
What?
Are you still recording?
Yeah.